There you go.
Okay.
Okay, so
Soundy's good to have.
this 9 weeks, Ms. Timms, Ms. Hackney, and I have been working on an action research project with our students. And it was a correlational study comparing time spent reading and Lexile levels. This idea was actually brought up last semester when we did a whole survey for the students trying to figure out what motivated them to read. Were they actually reading at home? And it took me interviewing them one-on-one because a lot of them fibbed on their answers when they were afraid they were going to get in trouble. So this is what kind of sparked the idea for us to collaborate together and work on this project, trying to figure out what it was that actually impacted the students and their growth, not just how high their scores are, but the amount of growth that they showed.
Okay.
So we have the purpose. It was reported that a significant number of students in the U.S. have not developed a proper reading level proficiency as required in the achievement in schools. Moreover, they need proper skills to succeed in joining the highly paced, knowledge-oriented workforce and help the nation compete effectively in the global economy. Reading comprehension is vital to success in school because it is a cross-curricular skill integrated through all subject areas. So that was the purpose of our action research project. All right, research question. It started off with 2 and then it was narrowed down to 1. Is there a correlation between time spent reading and Lexile growth? That was the overall asking question that we were trying to figure out if there was a relationship. All right, so this is just a description of what the Capstone project was that I had to do with KSU, and it talks about the whole process. It's a timeline, and I'll show you on the next page. It kind of explains it a little bit better in a picture form. Alright, so there's the timeline. So it actually started back in December when we had our pre-data for our reading inventory. And then it moved through there with parent consent being sent home and getting approval, so not all students participated. Then we did the reading logs. I distributed different folders. Ms. Timms added their Lexile levels, their windows, the genre of books that they were going to read. And this was explained to them, it was explained to the parents, and every Friday they brought their folders to us. We collected the data on how many minutes they read Monday through Friday, and we took an average of the weekly minutes just in case if their folders were left at home or if they were lost. As the weeks went on, some students started dropping off because they stopped doing it, so it started dwindling down. Not as much as I thought it would, but we had quite a big turnout at the end. So then after the 6-week period, so it was 6 weeks of just collecting the data from all the students, all the data was analyzed, and then after analyzing the data, I created this presentation to present to the grade level. I originally was going to do it at a CCC meeting, but the data is more pertinent, I guess, to 4th grade teachers because that was the population that I used.
Okay.
So, and then finish it and submit. Okay, so this was the pre-reading inventory data. It doesn't have any of the names, it just has the students. And I narrowed it down. It started off with like 35 students, I think.
Okay.
About 35 students. And they kept falling off. The ones that didn't get approved got removed from the beginning. And then those that just stopped keeping up with the logs. And then through a collaborative meeting between Ms. Hackney, Ms. Timms, and I, we decided we were only going to test a certain number of the students so that the other ones would have a longer period of time to master their reading skills and get a higher reading level.
Okay.
So we chose 15 students, and the majority of these students can take the reading inventory up to about 5 times within the year. So we chose these students so they could still take it again if they wanted to towards the end of the testing window. So those were their pre-scores back in December. All right, and then these are their post scores that they just took. All right, and then this shows the time spent reading, and it's all gonna come together. These are just separate slides. So this is the average, a weekly average, sorry.
In minutes?
Okay, daily average, yes. Daily average in minutes, yeah, of minutes read.
Okay.
So it kind of shows you how different it was, certain students.
And then if someone spent almost 3 minutes and then, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But the data is very interesting,
Okay.
which was calculated over spring break several times, reaching out to several professors too, like, am I doing something wrong?
Mhm.
So you'll say it's, all right, so this is the student growth or regression.
Okay.
And it's still if student 1 is still student 1, student 2, you know.
Mhm.
So we had some students that actually regressed down that were in there, and we had some that had major growth. So, and this is a chart that's comparing the daily average of reading versus their growth. And the daily average is pretty close to about the same line, but the growth per student is dramatically different. So when this chart was created, it didn't quite show you how they related to each other up close. But when I ran all the statistical data, it's a SPSS statistics software, it showed that there basically was no relationship, no correlation between time spent reading and their growth. Some of the students that had the most growth actually read the least amount.
So do you think it's more on the skills that the students are reading versus just the time? Because I could spend time reading a book but still not understand what it is that I'm reading.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. The one factor that I would have loved to have seen in this would be what they were reading. Were they reading in their window?
They were told they could only read within their window that we had set,
Mhm.
and those that were reading books outside their window, they did not log it into their logging. But there is a lot of outside factors that come into play that I was really reflecting on last week.
Yeah.
Like
So-
books at home? Like books at home, or were you guys providing them with these books?
I provided them with books.
Okay, to make it easier.
Yes.
Okay.
They all were provided with books, but still, I would like to know what they read when they were at
There are
home.
so many factors I think
know,
that come into
there are.
play.
Yeah.
But it says after running the data, it discovered that the two variables, time spent reading and lexile growth, are not correlated negatively or positively. There's absolutely like no relationship. The p-value was 0.145, which means, or decimal 145, which means that the chances of getting the same results is 14.5%. So it's not statistically significant. There's not a relationship between both of them.
So when we tell students
I
to
know,
make sure
that's
you
my-
read,
that's
to
what-
read over the summer, make sure you read,
Right.
It's really more about
They
what
need
is
read
it
for-
you're reading,
Right.
and then maybe about the skills that you're using to pull out, you know, the
Vocabulary.
information after
I think vocabulary is
comprehension,
Yeah.
you know, those sort
Yeah.
of things as
Yep.
well.
The vocabulary is huge. I've seen a difference in the kids that have watched their vocabulary grow. I've watched their lexiles grow.
Okay.
The
And
kids
fiction
that-
versus nonfiction.
Yes.
I wonder if
Yeah.
Nonfiction
Well-
is nonfiction is always
Well, the
is
RI
tougher.
is vocab.
Yeah. I think it's vocabulary.
It's heavy vocab.
It is, yeah. And that makes a
So are
difference.
you saying that might not be a good measure to
I
really
agree. I agree.
see if their reading has improved, maybe?
Well, and I think what needs to be done is I think the children need to be observed as they're reading, because if they're reading and then skimming over a word and not looking for inferencing or trying to figure out what that word means,
Context clues.
The active
context
reading.
then the point of reading is not
It's
meeting.
lost.
It's a
the-
it's a
right.
There's no point then.
Right.
Yeah.
So how are they reading? Are they actually
It's an
stopping
unsharpened
and
pencil.
questioning?
Yes.
Shawty, you so cute.
So,
Aren't
everything that you guys
Shawty?
just talked about literally is what I was thinking. I was like, how could this have happened? Because we're
Yeah.
always told read, read, read. I'm like, it should have been an obvious conclusion. There should have been a correlation. But what I would do differently to get different results next time, or to take out those outside factors that might be impacting or skewing the results, control the data collection by limiting it to the school environment, recording the minutes read at
Cameron
school.
said.
Yep.
Mhm.
Instead of at home. Increase the reliability and validity of the data. I would choose a certain subgroup of students to decrease the outside factors that may be influencing student growth. Because this group of students that we use, we have English language learners, we have students with special needs, we have students that are on tier, and then we have our regular education students. So those factors in themselves, I mean, it's not apples to apples. You're comparing so many different types
Right.
of student subgroups, so
Right.
that could have impacted it a lot. The English language learner student subgroup, they actually showed a lot of growth this year. And then some of these students are in extra programs that are actually remediation programs.
To get more support.
Well, that lends credibility to what we're talking about with the vocabulary, because if they're reading and they're learning new vocabulary of the English language and they're showing
Yep.
the
Will
growth,
increase,
there
right.
you go.
Through
Yes.
that Read 180 program. that
Yeah.
we're
I
doing.
see.
Yeah, because it's so directly correlated to the vocab.
There's so many factors that are affecting this growth that it was not isolated enough. So like in the future, I would like to know more, like I would like a larger sample size
Yeah.
of maybe an entire grade level and really looking at that, which I don't know how that would be manageable, but what factors should be isolated to discover the correlating factors? So exactly which factors could we isolate to get more reliable data? Is there a magical number? This was an important one that came up as I was discussing it with some family members. Is there a magical number that you need to read each day just to maintain where you were at? Because we had regression. So is there a specific number, like you're at this Lexile, this is how much you should be reading every day, just to make sure you don't lose what you've already had? So that was kind of interesting.
Good question.
And
Very
then
good
why
question.
do students regress?
Mhm.
Because normally you learn to ride a bike, you don't forget to ride a bike. So why
Right.
they learn these things, they show this, so now why are they regressing and going backwards when they've learned the skill? Maybe they haven't learned the skill, maybe they were guessing on the test. There's, once again, a lot of factors there too.
So now I have a question. Taking what you learned from this, what suggestions would you give us for the different activities as far as reading and even math related, but I guess more so to reading? What should we tell our students to do? Is there something else we can tell them besides make sure you read a book every day?
See,
You know,
I think we need to give them a purpose. They need to answer questions based on, the story elements that we're asking. This data, I don't have proof. This is just basically, it's not just time spent reading. It's not just read 30 minutes and you're going to continue to improve in your Lexile. No, because it's obviously not working. So we need to, I'm guessing it's not data driven, that we need to give them a purpose. We need to give them questions, assignments with that reading, and not just reading for pleasure.
something that I've done in the past when we talk about is over the summer form a book club. Form a book club with people in your house, your
And
mom, your dad.
right.
Form a book club with your best
Accountable
So that they
reading.
can discuss it.
Accountable
And come ready
reading.
to discuss
Absolutely.
it.
Well, and you know what happens when you do that, because we do that with our book clubs. When someone comes up with a vocabulary word and they write it down, and everyone else writes it down, and then they realize, oh, I didn't know what that word meant. So it just needs to be a little bit more purposeful
Yes.
reading.
Plus, I think the book clubs make it more fun. It holds,
Yeah.
it's accountable for
Yeah.
it. It forges different relationships. You're just
Sure.
not playing all the time, but
Right.
you're talking
And it
about
makes
it.
you
have to come
read,
with
like, oh,
something.
because we have to meet on this day, so I got to
come
make
with-
sure I have my
come
pages
with
read.
something.
Yes.
That's what I've told mine in the past.
Yes.
Form a book club.
I love that. I love that idea. Now, the question I have: did you share this data information with the students?
Not yet. I did tell
Do
the
not.
parents that I would share it.
Well, no, and I
I'm
think
thinking
not
that
from the
I'm-
standpoint that we would tell them that the reading does not matter, but I
But we need
think
to add
I
this
think what we're
component in there.
saying-
It needs to be purposeful, because
Absolutely.
just reading and not
it's not
discussing
enough, and I think that they can
Not-
benefit
not
from that
paying
information.
attention to the vocab, because
Yes. You know?
book clubs, they have to do. Everybody does vocab,
Yeah.
no matter
Right.
what their job is.
Yes.
In my
Yes.
class for lit circles, everybody's doing vocab.
Okay.
3 words every week.
Okay.
With whatever, if you're the connector, the literary luminary, no matter what your role is that week, everybody, and they present those words with the Freyer model.
Model.
They present those with the thing, so.